Okay, so this video is just for those of you who are curious on how completing the square turns a quadratic equation in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0 into the quadratic formula, which is another form of solving. So in order to complete the square, I want my equation in the form of x squared plus dx equal to some e, and then I'm going to find d over 2 quantity squared. So if I'm going to take an ax squared plus bx plus c and do that, get it into that form that is, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract the c from both sides. And then I'm going to divide by a. And if I divide one thing, I divide everything. And so I'm going to get x squared plus b over a in front of an x is equal to a negative c over a. Now that d over 2 squared, the d in this case is b over a, which is not friendly to divide by 2, but we can do it. So off to the side, b over a, and instead of writing divide by 2 as an over 2, I'm going to write it as an actual divide symbol because that's actually going to work in our benefit when it's fractions. Because to divide fractions, you multiply by the reciprocal. And then when you're multiplying, you multiply straight across, and b times 1 is b, and a times 2 is 2a. And then when you square a fraction, you square the top and you square the bottom. And since the bottom is 2a, which is getting multiplied together, I could square both of those, and I get 4a squared in that denominator. So b squared over 4a squared. Now I'm supposed to add that to both sides, which is not pretty looking, but it works. Okay, at this point, we typically factor the left side. We do that by looking for two things that multiply to this number, but when I add them, I get the b over a. And remember, one of the things I told you is that number is always going to be what you got in the parentheses divided by 2 before squaring it for that d over 2 piece, which means in this case, that number we're looking for is b over 2a. And, of course, b over 2a, because it's always the same number. Oh, why did it all of a sudden move? Weird. Let's move that back to where it belongs. Okay. So it factors into x plus b over 2a and x plus b over 2a. In other words, x plus b over 2a, in parentheses, squared, equal to. Now, as for that negative ca plus b squared over 4a squared, it would be fantastic if I could actually add those. To do that, I need a common denominator, which means I'm going to multiply both the top and the bottom of that c over a fraction, or negative c over a technically. I'm going to multiply it by 4a. That way, I get a negative 4ac over 4a squared, adding b squared over 4a squared. Now, if I add those together, I get negative 4ac plus b squared over 4a squared, which personally, I would prefer if it said the b squared first. So b squared minus 4ac all over 4a squared. Sweet. Now I solve. To solve something squared equal to a number, I take the square root, reminding myself that I need to put a plus or a minus on front of it. On the left side, I'm going to be left with x plus b over 2a. On the right side, I'm going to get a positive and negative square root of that ugliness. To square root a fraction, you square root the top and you square root the bottom. Which means if I square root the top, I just get a square root of b squared minus 4ac. But if I square root 4a squared, those are both perfect squares, and between them is multiplication. That's a key thing. If there's addition or subtraction, you can't do anything about it. But it's multiplication, which means to square root 4a squared, I square root the 4, I square root the a squared, I get 2a. Still have this x plus b over a, or sorry, x plus b over 2a. Now, to get x alone, I subtract that b over 2a. And I get x equals negative b over 2a plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, in which I want to add those fractions, and thankfully they have a common denominator, and so I get negative b, because when you have a positive or negative in front of a fraction, put it up top. Or in this case, for the second one, it's the full plus or minus that goes up top, so it's negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, which is the quadratic formula.